Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week. Well, now let's move on to our next segment. That will be the last segment for this episode. And I'm talking about File Manager from a company called File Manager Plus. And somehow this goes back to 2015, since when they jumped into the arena of file managers. And now here's that demonstration of File Manager. Hi. For episode 213, App of the Week, our very first App of the Week for the year 2025, this is demonstrating a file managing app simply called File Manager by a developer called File Manager Plus. For today's demonstration, I'll be utilizing my Pixel 9 XL Pro running Android 16 Developer Preview 2. And by the way, talking about Android 16, I'm almost positive we'll be seeing the very first beta for Android 16 this January 2025. And for my speech services, I'm using the Google Recognition and Speech Synthesis. I am on the Play Store and will now navigate to the About, and let's hear the description of the app, and then we'll go from here. Here is the About.
About this app heading. Google Play Store. File Manager details. Fast, easy to use and full-featured File Manager app with cloud integration. File Manager Plus is an easy and powerful file explorer for Android devices. It's free, fast, and full-featured. Because of its simple UI, it's extremely easy to use. You can easily manage storages on your device, NAS, network-attached storage, and cloud storages. What's more, you can find how many files and apps you have on your device at a glance immediately after opening the app. It supports every file management action: open, search, navigate, directory, copy and paste, cut, delete, rename, compress, decompress, transfer, download, bookmark, and organize for various file formats including media and APK. Major locations and functions of File Manager Plus are as following. Main storage: SD card, USB OTG. You can manage all files and folders on both your internal storage and external storage. Downloads: new files, images, audio, videos, documents. Your files and folders are automatically sorted by their types and characteristics so that you can easily find what you are looking for. Apps: you can see and manage all applications installed on your local device. Cloud: remote. You can access your cloud storage and also remote shared storage like NAS and FTP server. Cloud storage: Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Box, and Yandex. Access from PC: you can access your Android device storage from PC using FTP file transfer protocol. Storage analysis: you can analyze local storages to clean up useless files. You can find out which files and apps take up the most space. Internal image viewer, internal music player, internal text editor. You can choose to use built-in utilities for faster and better performance. Archive management: you can compress and decompress archive files. Supported compression archives, zip. Supported decompression archives, zip, GZ, XZ, tar. Supported devices: Android TV, phone and tablet. App info. Version 3.5.4. Updated on October 3, 2024. Downloads: 100 million plus downloads. Required OS: Android 5.0 and up. In-app purchases: 99 cents minus $9.99 per item. Offered by File Manager Plus. Released on October 19, 2015.
And that's the description of the app. I already have the app installed, and now I'll navigate my way back to the installation page and then tap on the Open.
Play Store. About this app heading. More apps to try. Open button. File Manager Plus. Privacy policy.
I am now on the first page, and in the middle of the phone, we come across the name of the app.
File Manager Plus.
And just below that,
Privacy policy.
Privacy policy. You could tap on that to read about the privacy policy. And at the very bottom across the screen, we have the Next button.
Next button. Next button.
We're now on the second page, and although we heard Next button, in the middle of the phone we have
Access request.
We have the access request. In other words, it's going to take us to where we could choose to allow it to manage our files and things of that nature. I'll tap on Next.
Next button. All files access. Navigate up button.
We're now on a page that says All File Access, and putting my finger in the middle of the phone.
Allow this app to read, modify, and delete all files on this device or any connected storage volumes. If granted, app may access files without your explicit knowledge.
Now, to the right of that, slightly above that, is
Off, allow access to manage all files, switch.
And I'm going to tap to allow.
On, allow File Manager Plus to send you notifications. Allow button.
Now, we'll need to allow it, even though I'm notorious for not wanting to allow notifications, but the whole idea here is that if you don't allow it and when it's done completing some task, it's not going to let you know that that task has been taken care of. So I'm going to tap on Allow.
File Manager Plus. Open Navigation Drawer button.
We're now in the main UI of the app, and the first thing we heard on the top left corner is the Open Navigation Drawer. I want to take you through the UI and see what we have, and then we'll explore some of these. To the right of that Open Navigation Drawer,
File Manager Plus.
we have the name of the app, and moving to the right corner of the phone, we have one single button, and that will be the
More Options button out of grid.
More Options button. Below here, though, all we have in a grid is things like the internal storage, downloads, that typical kind of stuff. I'll show you quickly before we come back to these two buttons at the top. So we got, starting from the left,
Audio 29.7 megabytes,
and
9,
to the
row
right,
2. Videos 1.6 gigabytes, 173, column
moving,
2. Documents 1.2 megabytes, 3, column 3. Apps 21.6 gigabytes, 300. New files 645 megabytes. Cloud, column 2. Remote, column 3. Access from network, column 4.
and that's the last item there. As you can see, you could have cloud location if you want to add a cloud storage, for example, whether you want to add Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Yandex, etc., etc. Let's go back though to the top and look at the other items here. We got a couple items like I mentioned. The first one on the top left corner is that Open Navigational Drawer, and then to the right corner we have that More Options. Let's get started though with that navigational drawer found on the top left corner. I'll now tap on Open Navigation Drawer.
Open Navigation Drawer button out of grid. Selected Storage tab 1 of 3 in list 3 items.
Tapping on Open Navigation Drawer, we got 3 tabs there, right there at the top, and the one that's selected by default is Storage, and then to the right of it,
Bookmark tab 2 of 3.
Bookmark, and then the last one
History tab 3 of 3.
is that History. Now below here, here's what we got in a vertical list.
Home in list.
Got Home,
Main storage 5%. Recycle bin 0B.
and that's the last thing that we have here. I'll now go back.
Open Navigation Drawer button.
Now let's go ahead and tap on that More Options there on the top right corner and see what that contains.
More Options button. Pop-up window. Settings in list.
Tapping on More Options, we got Settings, moving down,
Analyze.
and
Refresh.
that's the last item here in the More Options. Let's go ahead though and tap on that Settings and look at what the settings contains.
Selected Settings. File Manager Plus. Navigate up button out of list.
Tapping on Settings, we're highlighted on Navigated to the top. That's there on the top left corner. Now, moving beyond this, we encounter the following, and I'm not going to be necessarily going into each and every one of these things, as most of them explain themselves as to what they are. And so let's just go through the settings. Here's what we got.
Settings. Premium heading in list.
we come across the premium, and if I didn't mention earlier on, it does have a subscription model, and as a matter of fact, I think it has a couple of them. It does not have any ads, though, even though as a free user, but there are some limitations if you are not a premium subscriber. I'll show you what those things are. Here's what we got, though, under that subscription. We got
Upgrade to premium.
We've got update to premium. Let's go in here and see how much the subscription or premium subscription would cost.
Upgrade to premium. Navigate up button out of list.
And moving down.
Upgrade to premium. Subscription. $2.49.
We have $2.49.
You will be charged $2.49 yearly until you cancel your subscription. Previous charges will not be refunded when you cancel unless it is legally required.
So this is an annual subscription of $2.50, when you added taxes and all of that. And below that,
Buy Now button.
you tab here if you want to subscribe to that annual subscription of $2.49. Below that, we got
One-time purchase.
We have the one-time purchase, my own type of subscription that I prefer to an annual or monthly subscription. And below that, we've got
$9.99.
basically $10.
Buy premium features with one-time payment.
And
Buy Now button.
below that.
Premium features.
And this is what the premium features include.
No ads. No ads are shown in the app.
It says no ads are shown in the app, even though as a free user, so far I haven't come across any single ad within the app UI. Moving on.
Theme.
Theme, and indeed this is a light theme by default. There's no way to switch to the dark mode if that's what you want. That would require a subscription. So in my, of course, never to be humble opinion, I would like to believe that this is the only thing that the subscription would give you, giving you a dark theme. I don't know, maybe there may be some other limitations, but so far I haven't seen one beyond that.
Get dark theme.
And that's what that is. Now I'll go back.
File Manager Plus. Upgrade to premium in list.
Now we're back to where it talked about upgrading to premium, and below here I'm just going to go through the items. You can go through these things on your leisure time and see what you need to change and what you should leave by default. Here's what we got.
Default apps heading.
Default apps, in other words, if there are apps that you want this thing to be able to open for you, you go in here.
Default apps.
You tap there to go choose those. Moving on.
Built-in apps heading.
Next.
Image viewer check box.
Now it can view your images. If you don't want it, uncheck it.
Video player check box.
You can uncheck it if you don't want it to view videos.
Music player check box.
Same thing. Next.
Text editor check box.
You could also use this in text editing if you want to, and of course if you don't want to, simply uncheck it. Next.
Notification settings heading.
We now come to the notification settings, and below here we've got
Storage is full. Show when the storage is over 98% full.
So by default, it's set to show you when the storage is up to like 98%. If you want to lower that threshold, then you need to tap here to change that. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Storage is full. Off in list.
And you could turn that on.
99%. Checked 98%. 97%. 96%. 95%. 90%. 85%.
I'm just going through the list. You got the drift here. You could choose what you want. In other words, if you wanted to alert you when you are at 80% of your storage or whatever, you could choose that. By default, as I indicated, it's set to 98%. I'll now go back.
File Manager Plus. Storage is full. Show when the storage is over 98% full.
Let's move on down.
Recycle bin settings heading.
We come to the recycle bin heading, and in other words,
use recycle bin by default. Check box.
In other words, when you delete something, it's going to go to your recycle bin, of course, you can always tap on, I don't want it to go to the recycle bin. But if you don't want anything to go to the recycle bin at all, you could uncheck that right here so you don't have to go through that dialog where it's going to ask you as to whether or not you would like to send that thing to the recycle bin or not. Next.
Show recycle confirmation. Checked checkbox.
There we go. Next.
Advanced settings heading.
We now come to the advanced settings or advanced heading, and below that,
Always show nav icon. Not checked checkbox.
always show the navigation options is not checked.
Detect USB connection. Checked checkbox.
So if you plug a USB thumb drive or some other USB device, it auto detects that. Now, if you don't want that, then you simply uncheck it. Next.
Show history. Checked checkbox.
That's why we saw it up there, that history there earlier on. Next.
Show system storage. Not checked checkbox.
You could choose to show system storage. By default, it's not showing.
File size unit GB.
The file size unit is GB. In other words, if you want to change it to MBs, you could do so.
Show advanced menus heading.
And below that heading,
Add bookmark. Checked checkbox.
next,
Add to home screen. Not checked checkbox.
next,
Hide unhide. Not checked checkbox.
next,
Open as not checked checkbox.
next,
About heading.
and we come to the about, and below that,
About version 3.5.4.
and that's the last item. Let's go back.
File Manager Plus. More options button out of list.
Now let's go into apps and quickly show you something before we bring this to a close. I'm going to tap on apps because you could also use this as an app extractor if you wanted to. You can also use it to archive apps or compress apps as well. Here's what I'm talking about.
Apps 21.6 gigabytes 300. Download. Navigate up button out of grid.
So here I am in the list of my apps. I'm going to put my finger down at random.
Adobe Scan 108 megabytes 24.12.17 Google Dynamic in list.
I'm going to long press on this one.
333rd.
So that one is selected. And upon selecting that, though, we have some tabs or buttons at the bottom. Starting from the bottom left, here are the buttons that we encounter.
Backup.
We have backup, and moving right,
Uninstall.
we have uninstall,
Share.
share,
Open.
open,
Store.
or store. That's the last one. In other words, if I tap here, it should take me to the play page of the app that I've selected. Let's tap and see if that indeed is what it does.
Play Store. Open button in list.
There we are.
Adobe Scan PDF Scanner OCR.
And that's what that is. So
File Manager Plus.
I now went back, and that's a quick tour of the file manager, something I find very useful, most especially that it doesn't have ads and it's very accessible. I hope that you find this file managing app a very useful tool to add to the arsenal of file managing apps that you have. Thanks for listening. Well, that's that little demonstration of the file manager. Guys, you have any comments about file managers in general or about this one in particular, and what you like about it and probably what you don't like about it?
I have a question for you. I kind of want to put you on the spot now that we're recording, because you may have mentioned it to me earlier.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
Are you officially switching from Files by Google to this new file manager app as your daily file management app?
Well, so here's the truth. I have maybe like 11 or 12 file managers. I admit that to my shame. And I got Solid Explorer, I got CX Explorer. They're all great file managers. And yet for some odd reason, John, I tend to be using the Google Files Manager, more. Now that I got this one, though, there are certain things I like about it. and the layout is not. Is everything is out there. Okay, there's some things about some file managers. In as much as I like them, there are certain things about them that I don't like. Maybe the layout and all of that. With this one, I like it, but if you're someone who likes the dark theme without paying for it, you're not going to get the dark theme. And so that's one strike against the file manager that we just demoed. And so I don't know. I've used it though. Yesterday I used it a lot. And so without going to the files manager from Google or Google Files. So I don't know. I'll see if I stay to using it or if I jump back to Files by Google.
So my question is, so you think that the Files by Google is the perfect file manager that you're not finding in any other file manager?
Doggone you, girl. Well, it's from Google, right? Maybe that's why. I'm just kidding. Well, I think though that probably the reason why I like the Google Files, for example, earlier on, and it's old habits sometimes never die. Earlier on, it has that quick share or file sharing, built right into it. I think that probably was the reason why I was using it more than the other ones. Where you could just do quick share from it or, file share from it with my other devices and things like that. But, now I don't know. I really don't know if I, would be using it more than others now that I'm trying this file manager. I'm kind of torn between this and the CX File Explorer. I think when it all said and done, though, we truly have nice file managers that we can stand behind and recommend as one that one could go for without regretting. And I'm talking about all three of them, be it Files by Google, CX File Manager, or this one that we just demoed. I think they're all very good file managers. Solid Explorer is there. The only thing that I don't like about Solid Explorer, if I turn off the speak element IDs, within the TalkBack verbosity, you have those buttons at the bottom when you select something that it will say button, and you'll have to wait till the image description tells you what it is. And sometimes it says a pencil and whatever. And if you don't know what that means, you're not going to know what that function is. So I tried turning off the speak element IDs with this file manager, and it's properly labeled. So kudos to those guys because everything is labeled.
Yeah, well, actually, I have used the File Manager Plus for a few years, I think. It's one of the good ones out there. And I remember back then there were ads, like they weren't annoying, but I remember that they were in the windows, like you could find them on the screens. So yesterday, after I saw your demo, I was like, okay, why don't I recheck this app? And yeah, it just reminds me of the old days. Actually, I think I used it after the ES File Explorer. I think you remember this one. It was one of the very good file managers, but then they started to load it. Do you remember how
they sold it to some place and it became bad? Actually, even had malware in it, and now it's totally gone from the Play Store, right? Yes, it was one of the early file managers out there.
Yeah, it was, and there was also the Astro. I don't know if the Astro is still there. Also,
Astro is still there, and Astro for you historians, I think Astro debuted on there like in 2009. So it's been there for a long time, and S File Explorer was probably following in its heels.
Yeah, but it's really annoying to have such a very capable file manager. It goes in this. It used to be very good, and then it was degrading in quality. And as you said, selling it wasn't really the best thing that did it, and then it's now gone. So yeah, but File Manager Plus is one of the good apps out there, and it's still good. However, I prefer CX. Actually, they are very similar in terms of functionality. The interface is different, but the like this selection button that you have after each element is there in the two. Well, I prefer to have actions instead, or like to just have the selection when you long press instead of having it next to each item. But it's good, however. Well, I still prefer CX just for one reason. I like the arrangement in tabs more. So you have the local tab and you have the library tab and the network tab. I think this makes them more organized, but actually, yeah, I'm with you. The File Manager Plus is one of the good file managers out there.
So I was comparing the difference, or the lack of difference, between CX and File Manager Plus. And so one thing I did find is that if you set the view to be a grid view, then you can swipe directly between the items. I don't remember if it was in both of them or just one of them, but one of them for sure, when I changed it to grid view, I didn't have to swipe past the toggle each time. So that might make things easier on you, Karine, if you try it that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna test it indeed.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to say is, so I like both of these file managers, and I'm a dark mode guy. I want a dark theme, and I would probably be willing to just pay the $10 to get the dark theme, but I don't think I would ever use these as my main file explorer. And the reason is, the thing I like about Google Files and Samsung Files, or Files by Google and My Files by Samsung, is that when I first opened
from Samsung, so you have to like it.
Well, no, I like what I like about the functionality is that when I open it, there's always my recent files right there. Like as soon as I open it, there's my recent files, and like 90% of the time when I'm going in there, it's to get something I've just recorded, or I've just saved to my phone, or I've just shared with my phone. Like the reason I open the app most of the time is to get to the recent files. So, I mean, obviously in these Explorer or these file managers, you can go to recent files and it will show you all your recent files, but that's an extra step. So I wanted to actually ask Karine if she knows of a way to have it open directly to recent files, because if I could do that, I would use it all the time, because I even thought, because you can save like shortcuts to your home screen for certain folders, but I found out you couldn't do it for like just the recent items page. It has to actually be a physical folder on your device. So I was going to ask Karine, do you know of a way to get CX File Explorer to do this?
No, I don't think that this is possible. Well, for me, I don't ever use a file manager as my main file manager if it doesn't have this recents. But I'm not like you, because I don't want it to be always showing me my recent files. But well, it's good to try to contact the dev and tell him to add a shortcut. I think it will be something good if you are able to add it as a shortcut to the home screen, and then you can just open it whenever you want. I like the idea. I'm going to suggest it, actually. So what about trying,
awesome.
Like both of us trying to do it, so it will
let's
maybe
do it.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point I'll just like use them both, depending on what I'm going to do. If I'm actually like going to explore my file system for some reason, I'll use the CX File Explorer. But if I'm just trying to grab a recent file, then I'll just open my default file manager on my phone, whether it be a Pixel or Samsung, because both of those file managers have that recent files functionality right at the top.
So I think for me, I think I like the layout of the file manager that we just demoed is cleaner of a UI for me when compared to CX File Explorer. I'm not like dumping CX File Explorer, by any imagination, but it has a cleaner UI. And I think I'm going to buy that $10 purchase, one-time purchase, because I may not be necessarily using it all the time, but at least I support the guy, and then it keeps it going. And most especially since it's been there since 2015, I don't want it to go the way of the S-File Explorer. I remember, because back in those days, every time someone wants to have a file manager, I was always suggesting, hey, get S-File Explorer and all of that, and now it's gone. So, but I definitely am going to get that subscription. I'm going to buy that $10 purchase for this file manager. I really like the clean UI.
Yeah, I think I prefer the layout as well, just because it. I think in CX File Explorer they have tabs that you have to sort through, whereas everything's kind of front and center on this file manager. So I think I kind of prefer this one as well. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm a dark theme guy, and CX doesn't offer that. So like you, I might just spend the $10 and use this as one of my file managers. I won't have 12 like you, but I'll have 2.
I guess I'm crazy. Well, I like to try different things, and it's so hard to when you have so many of them. I probably should try to whittle it down, but they're all good ones that I have, so it's hard.